Welcome to our Appalachia. My name is Phil Conn. I'm your host for this series, and as you know, we discuss various traditions and activities in eastern Kentucky. Today, we are going to talk with Jack Day, who is from Frenchburg, Kentucky, and as you can see from the toys in front of us, he is a manufacturer of wooden toys. Now, Mr. Day has only lived in Frenchburg for a couple of years now. He's a native of Virginia, but he's come to this area to engage in what we think is a very exciting occupation and one that we feel is highly compatible with this region, and that's making toys and other items out of the wood and some of the wood from this very area. Good to have you with us,
Thank you.
Mr. Day.
Pleasure being here.
You know, your designs are very simple, yet they're very beautiful, and I assume that many of these designs are your own. Is that correct?
Yes, I've done them all right there in the shop.
I see. Now, have you been involved in woodworking much of your life, or is this something that you have gotten into heavily of late?
It's been a hobby. My father was a craftsman, and he taught me at an early age some of the things that are necessary to learn in woodworking. But all through a Navy career, 23 years, I followed it as a hobby, making things for the household and so forth, and gifts for people. But now it became a necessity, so
right.
That's the reason I'm into it now.
So now you're retired military, but you are actually the owner of a small business.
Yes, Woodkins.
It's called Woodkins, Frenchburg, Kentucky, and your major line, of course, is wooden toys.
Yes.
What inspired you to come to Frenchburg, Kentucky, and to get into the wooden toy business?
Well, it's a long story. To make it short, we negotiated with some clock manufacturers in Florida, and we thought we would be the sole distributor here in Kentucky. That was our arrangement with them, and we bought a bunch of clocks and headed for Lexington and to try to centralize the operation and be a distributor and form a dealer network. And we got here, we found we could buy them in the Winn-Dixie as cheaply as we could buy them from the manufacturer there, of course from a different one.
Right.
And that's how we came to be here.
Now your operation is in a well-known old building in Frenchburg.
Yes, it's on the Presbyterian campus there. We bought the old hospital building. We turned a portion of the upstairs into living quarters, and of course the downstairs we use as a shop, office, and small showroom.
Right. Well, we're very excited to have you in this part of Kentucky, and anything that smacks of a business that kind of emphasizes handcrafted production is exciting to many of us. Tell me though, you have a limited payroll or staff as such now, but you are into an arrangement with many Menifee Countyans who are in effect doing work in their homes, kind of an old cottages industry approach.
That's exactly right.
Tell us how that works and why you are approaching your business from that angle.
Well, I guess it's the economic situation. One, we don't have the capital to back an operation with a lot of in-house employees at this time. We do operate as a cottage industry. Most of the things are marked and cut out in the shop by myself, and we farm out sanding portions, some drilling. Now we do have 3 people who are qualified and have done some cutouts on the bandsaws, but it gives us an opportunity to give a little work out into the community, and hopefully it'll build, and a lot of people in the community have a job and like some extra money. We don't put any pressure. We can't really dictate to them when they should have it back to us. The only thing we can say, we'll pay X number of pennies, whatever it might be, to do a particular item, and they become then a subcontractor. And we found we can operate this way. We've got our prices down just as low as we can go to be competitive. We'd like to go out throughout the country and catalogs, etc.
How many individuals do you have on this kind of a contractual basis now?
I have 32 who are qualified, but as to date, only 9 have actually done work for us.
Some of these people, though, not only are willing to work on this basis, but you told me that some of them seem to prefer working in their own home at their own pace.
Yes, it gives them an opportunity to use that time that they would normally be doing something else that wasn't worthwhile, just killing time. It gives them an opportunity to make a little extra money at that time, and certainly it'll help us if we can get the things out into the marketplace and get them
Right.
sold, it'll help the whole community.
Of course,
And-
this is quite opposite from the approach that, say, a labor union would take to organizing manpower, but it seems to make a lot of sense, both where you're concerned in cutting cost and having people paid for piecework, and where the individuals are concerned in that it provides supplementary income and allows them to work at their own pace, at their own home.
Yes, we're not trying to exploit anyone.
Right.
We're paying, I think, a fair price for the portion of labor that they do on these. We sometimes will assist the person in getting their piece of equipment, or we'll help them make it. If it's a sander, a lot of them are homemade sanders, and we help them make those. And so it's not we're not trying to exploit anyone. We're trying to kind of spread the work around in the community. And
to me, your toys, your items are delightful in that they're hardy hunks of wood, but at the same time, they have nice style to them, nice designs to them.
Thank you.
Now, to me, there's somewhere in between, though, what I would call a one-of-a-kind craft item and kind of a mass-produced item. Do you envision yourself as a craftsman so far as toys are concerned, or are you more into manufacturing, would you say?
Well, at this point, we have to say, okay, we're craftsmen. We just put out a few pieces. When I say a few, maybe a few hundred of each item. But I think as a manufacturer, you still have to be a craftsman. You want to keep the quality up, and each piece, it goes under quality control. We have a few in the wood pile that didn't make it. So I think you have to be both, especially in this type market. People are looking for handcrafted items, and that's even if we get to where we have millions of dollars in sales a year, if we ever get to that point, we would still like to be known as a handcrafting company, where these items are actually put together and done by hand. I think that's be part of the reception of the item.
Of course, this reminds us of the tradition, the mystique, the image, if you will, of Appalachia, and we like to emphasize our woods, we like to emphasize our ability with our hands. Do you feel that this whole Appalachian mystique, or the notion that you are an Eastern Kentucky business based in Frenchburg, is this helpful in making your sales pitch and introducing your line?
I think it certainly is helpful. It's a lot of people have exerted a lot of energy over the past years in getting the Appalachian product out of the region. It's not only helpful in the region, but certainly out. We do more marketing outside of Kentucky than we do in. And this is bringing cash flow back into Kentucky, which is good, I think.
So the fact that these are made in Frenchburg, Kentucky,
Adds to
rather
it.
than Bronx, New York, you think helps a whole lot?
Certainly does, I think.
Right. Well, this is certainly an aspect of our culture, our tradition that we like to emphasize. What is the motive, though, for buying a wooden toy as opposed to plastic or metal, automated, whatever? You find that you're competing head-on with the makers of these products, and if so, why would a person opt for a wooden toy?
Well, I think the main thing is the durability. They're safe, they're durable, and they're easily cared for. We do have a sealer on them, even though it doesn't look like it.
Now,
it's
tell
a
me
very
about
light
the
sealer.
This is actually a
It's
hot
a hot oil
build.
bath.
Okay. So they are finished. This
Yes.
is not an unfinished piece.
Right. So if they become dirty, you can just take a cloth and wipe them off, and they resist stains and everything. So it is an item that can be handed down from generation to generation with some care. And I remember when I was a boy, we had that's all you saw is wooden toys.
Right.
And of course that was replaced by the metal and then the plastics industry. But I think now we found now after about a year of market research that the toys are coming back. Consumer Report has a good article on them. People are opting to buy something that will last now. And so many of the foreign products are coming as a plastic product. People also want to buy American. And all our printed matter from now on, our catalogs, etc., we're going to stay on there. They're made by American craftsmen.
Is safety an increasingly important concern? I mean, like the design, part of it's just style, but the rounded edges, I guess you put in some extra sanding to round those edges, don't you?
We do. Around the windows, around the edges. We don't want anything that I have 3 children myself, and one's still young, 6, a little girl. And I don't want to do anything in the manufacture that will hurt a child or make them, expose them in any way to some danger in the toy. And I'm very particular, and my wife is very particular. We're the quality control people at this point, and we're very conscious of that and very particular about how we let those things go out.
Now, you told me earlier you're kind of starting this business from the ground up. You're avoiding getting your neck out too far, so far as a lot of capital and a big operation you can't sustain. But how do you build a business, particularly in wooden toys, from the ground up? How have you explored the market, and how, in fact, are you marketing your items right now?
Well, of course, first you have to have enough saved to at least buy the raw materials that you need and some equipment to start with. But we are doing market testing in 3 different sections of Kentucky, and they're the only shops that we have any market testing consignment going. We're doing testing, but not at a consignment position outside of Kentucky. And like I say, most of our accounts are outside. We're finding out which item moves the best. We're obviously going to push that. Right now, it seems that this is this and the name train are the real 2 winners for this year. We've had more interest and more activity on those 2 than all the rest of them put together, I think. Although it's been rather brisk on the little ones here for fundraisings. The religious items are, I think, a real good market in those. We decided to get into other items other than the toys because of a short selling period. October, November, December generally are your 3 big months in the toy.
So toy marketing is highly seasonal. In effect, you're selling for the Christmas market.
That's correct. Now, you do have gift shops that will take care of the birthdays and special events during the year. You also have large consumers in the specialty parks that you have nowadays, and different places where you have a mass of people, Busch Gardens, etc., where you have a mass of people come through, huge tourist trade. Then, if you're lucky enough to be in one of those positions, then you have a good spring, summer sale.
Now, by one of those positions, you're talking about trying to get a major contract, or at least a buy-sell agreement with a corporation that would handle literally thousands of pieces over a year or so. Is that correct?
Yes, but we'd like to sell directly to them, not having to open our own sales activity there and furnish it with with
So you're basically not interested in retailing except maybe on a mail order basis from your own operation.
Right. We would love to mail order, and we have catalogs at the printers now being done, 10-page. We're going to, well, we have a list of about 2,000 persons now, and really organizations that we're going to sell to or send to in hopes of selling. But we are offering these items to some of the major catalogs, hoping they'll put them in and do a national sales job with them. One is the Lynchburg store catalog, and they put out, I think Mr. Canapel said 1.2 million per year. And
now, the interesting thing about the catalogs you're referring to mail order catalogs rather than the catalogs of major retailers. And a lot of these mail order companies are basically just in promotion and brokering. They don't actually inventory your toys, do they?
No. They, what they do is, for their percentage, here's what they do. They compile the catalog, they get the lists, they do all the mailing, and for this they take the orders, take their percentage with the payment, and then they ship the remainder to you, which is a prearranged percentage. Then they'll ship with the list the payment on the particular item that you must ship and the person's name and address. Okay, you have to then package and ship it to that address. So it's called drop shipping. I'm sure you heard of it.
Right. You feel that the mail order approach, though, really probably is better for a manufacturer? In other words, is there a little more opportunity to make a profit there than going through a regular retail arrangement?
Well, I think the numbers are there. I think because you get so much exposure with hardly any cost, you may be asked to do the 2 or 3 color page spread that you wish to go in that particular catalog. Or they may say, well, we do this as a business for years and we have the printer set up and we can do it. And all they ask for then is the items so that they can photograph them and do the color or black and white spread. But I think for the exposure you get and for the cost of getting there to that point, I think that's the best way to go.
Take one of your basic toys. Let's take this toy right here. That's the tail end of...
That's a pickup and horse trailer.
Okay, okay. Let's put this so that our folks can see it.
Okay.
Maybe we'll need to set it right here and scoot a few things out of the way. Why don't you take that particular item, a truck and a horse trailer, and tell us basically how you make this, the different stages, and also tell us the woods that are involved here and how you acquire them.
Okay. We purchased 2x4s. We have changed the method now. We're buying 2x8s now and ripping ourselves, so we got a better cost per foot. But these are cut from a 2x4, and we simply mark our template or put our marking template on a piece of wood, mark it, and then cut it out with a bandsaw. Then it's drilled to the holes in this section, and the third is sanding operation. After it's sanded and we make sure that's the way we want it, we bring it back and assemble it. And these are, first of all, this is spruce pine, the main portion. And these we buy from a turning who has been in operation since about 1908, and they turn nearly everything out of hardwood.
I see.
And we found that the wheels are a little more apt to hold up under great pressure as a child standing on them or something. And the axles are also of hardwood. They're either ash or maple. And we'll then put them together by these axles only reach in about halfway. So we'll put an axle in from each side along with the wheel. We glue them and then we mallet them in. They're press fit, so
they're not likely to come out.
A child's not going to pull them off. If we can't,
a kid can pretty well ride on that truck, right? Now, this seems to be somewhat different finish. Is that lacquer?
This is the last of our lacquered, not lacquered, but polyurethane units, varnished. We've done away with it because of the problem in the drips. Well, we've probably gone on this, we don't have. But normally, you have to, we dip them and then hang them through here and hang them up to dry. So you've always got a little drip coming down somewhere and lodging.
Right. Actually, the hot oil dip seems to be just as acceptable so far as your customers are concerned.
Well, I think it's a little more acceptable because people, when they hear varnish or polyurethane, they're a little afraid of it.
Because it might be toxic.
Right. Although we have a letter from the chemist that isn't. The persons who supply this did supply it, gave us a letter saying it was absolutely child safe when dry.
Right.
But we've changed to a natural oil, vegetable oil, and we put a hot oil coating on these.
Now, of course, you buy your wood, your 2x4s or whatever dimensions you want locally, but we were discussing earlier that some of this wood may literally be imported to this area, which is very unfortunate and ironic, and it's because this area doesn't have kilns that dry wood to your specifications. Tell us about that. What type of wood are you after in terms of moisture content?
Oh, 7 or 8% furniture grade.
Right.
It should be that so that the toy won't later pick up moisture and crack.
Right. So everyone would assume that toys made in Frenchburg are made from wood that comes out of Menifee or Rowan County, and the truth of the matter is that while we export millions of board feet, a lot of them board feet go out of here green, and we really need that vital link, you know, the drying kiln hookup, I guess, to make our woods available. Do you have hopes for getting more and more into native hardwoods, though, and maybe making a push on the use of local woods?
Yes, in fact, this fall we're going to put on a an accompanying line of hardwood. They'll have to be a little more pricey than these, but we did the best we could for what capital we had to work with. And I think by this fall we'll be in a position to change, not change over, but certainly making an accompanying line of hardwoods.
You know, this train, what you call the name train, this is an extremely attractive item, and I'd say
Thank
if
you.
Your name was what?
Well, we could...
Zephaniah or Haggai or whatever.
Hassenpfeffer or whatever.
Hassenpfeffer, it'd be a pretty long train. Now, I guess you make these to order, or do you try to get shops to stock all the letters and assemble them?
I think it would be too much to ask the shop to stock all the letters, enough to make up 2 or 3 trains. What we'd like to do is to have the shops who would like to carry our products take the engine, caboose, and whatever name that they would select, maybe someone in the family, and just set it up. Once they do that, they can take orders, and we can deliver in 7 to 10 days. So I think that's the best for their situation. I think that would be the best setup. They can order them any name that they want. I can make them 10 feet long if they want them.
Right.
If they're willing to pay for that many letters, we'll certainly make them.
Right.
But rather than to ask a retailing operation to stock 10 or 15 of each of about 16 or 17 most commonly used letters, and that many I'm just trying to get away from them having to stock in so much depth, tie up so much money.
Right. Hopefully we got some potential buyers watching the show, so let's give them a feel. Right. Let's give them a feel for the price range of toys like this, with a guarantee that it's going to last a lifetime.
Well, we guarantee all our products.
Do you?
Absolutely.
You do have a
Sure.
guarantee?
We sure do.
Okay, and by that you mean if it's defective or even if a wheel falls off, you will make good on it? Or?
Yes, we'll either replace it or repair it. Sometimes, being wood, it can be dropped on concrete or something and the wheel might crack, but we'll certainly replace it.
Right.
If they are handy enough and wish us to ship them a new wheel, we'll do that. But if they aren't, they can send it back, we'll redeal it,
Right.
put another axle in.
It's unlikely that happens on a plastic scooter from Taiwan, isn't it?
I think so. Pretty unlikely.
What would the price on this run? And I guess we ought to
That
talk
should
in terms
retail.
of retail prices.
That should retail under 20. According to the shop's markup, somewhere $18, $19.
Okay. And it's not only a toy, but it's a bona fide Menifee County craft item.
Exactly.
Right. What are some of these smaller toys? Oh, here's a very attractive little Jeep. I guess the reason it's so attractive is because it's got those dark wooden wheels.
Well, let me point something out here. We've set the train up with different wheels.
I see.
See, the letters
It's a
have...
mix.
Okay. Normally, we don't do this.
Okay.
I did it this way to show that they can have the plain wheels or the stained wheels. There's no extra charge.
Right.
So that's the reason we did that. These seem to be accepted better with the different colored wheels. And along with this,
Which is a little, what would that be, a dune
that's
buggy
like
or whatever?
like an antique car.
Right, okay.
All these smaller items, this one, the Jeep and the antique, those were developed for fundraisers. And they have to start out with a very low-cost item in order for the schools to make any money and the people who are promoting to make any money. So we had to really sharpen the pencil on
You do
those.
have PTAs, though, and other groups that are selling these to raise money for schools or other charitable organizations.
We have a company in Lexington that deal with fundraisers all over the country. And they took these items to their Miami show. And from that Miami show, they had a commitment for about 40,000 pieces.
I see.
And they then went to New York, and I think they had about the same there.
Now, of course, a lot of your items here have a real functional purpose other than just enjoyment. I noticed that your whale and your little pigs, I guess they are, these are for
now
pens or Crayolas?
Well,
or?
they're aboard to take a pen, pencil, or crayon.
Okay, and then you have a couple of whales here. What's
That's
this?
the bookends.
Okay.
Now, they're adjustable.
I see.
You can put the book in, slide them together, and your book will never come over.
Right.
Never
You bet.
fall over.
If it goes over the floor, all of them will go over the floor.
That's
No
correct.
way that one bookend is going to fall
That's right.
away. Now, you, of course, have pointed out this pen and pencil set, and that is a walnut base, I take it.
Yes. solid walnut.
Have you just started developing this line?
Yes, that's maybe a month old.
Okay.
Now, we also make them with a maple base with a walnut cutout of different things. We have a Doberman Pinscher, we have a racehorse, we have fish, and a free-form bird.
Here's a very neat little crucifix. It's a walnut cross. And you mentioned that you had quite a few religious items. Is that because of a demand or a market that's unfilled? Or
we
what?
found that's a market unfilled.
What are some of the other religious items that you
we stand the 2x4 up like this and cut the letters Jesus out.
I see.
It's 12.5 inches long, roughly 3.5 high, and the same thickness as the 2x4.
And those are selling?
They sell very well. We have the pen sets with a 2.5-inch cross on it, a little bit larger than this.
Right.
And these are packaged impulse buying items that
Okay. We ought to show these before we run out of time, not only in that they're interesting little items. Now, for example, what does that little car
retail
for?
Under $3.
Under $3.
Yeah.
So this is something someone can pick up very inexpensively to take home as a...
I'm sorry, that'll be under 2.5. This would be under 3.
Okay, under 3 here. And people ought to notice here, handcrafted woodkins, Kentucky Crafts by Jack Day Incorporated. And there's the address, Frenchburg, Kentucky.
Drawer 9.
Drawer 9, okay?
Just Woodkins, drawer 9.
And I'd say it'd get there if it just said Woodkins, Frenchburg, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we had some mighty fine postal handlers over there.
Not many people get lost in Frenchburg.
No.
Right. So people should contact you if they wish to purchase these items or wish to get more information about your business.
Just send from a catalog.
Right.
It'll be out in another 6 or 7 days.
Well, listen, this is a very interesting business start, something we're proud of, because this is the type of activity I want to see flourish in this part of Kentucky.
Me too.
Right. We want to thank you for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
Been an interesting discussion. I have a lot of questions. In fact, I asked more, I think, before the show than I have during the show, and I'll ask more afterwards. But we want you to join us again, and want all of you who've joined us on TV to patronize Woodkins and join us again for our Appalachia in the future.